He's at the Capitol talking about it today, but does he really understand and does he really care what's going on with law enforcement and the dangers of the job in this country today? Today is the 40th annual Police Officers Memorial Ceremony in Washington, D.C. And Joe Biden was invited to speak. And I watched it, and I listened to it. And I have to say, a lot of the things he said were good and made sense. But do I still believe that he knows or cares about what's happening in this country with law enforcement today? Does he know or care what's happening to the Border Patrol agents at the borders with thousands of refugees coming over the border every day? I don't believe he does. I don't believe he cares. And I don't believe the liberal politicians in his party in different states care either. The memorial service celebrates the lives of fallen police officers across the country. And I've had the pleasure of going to Washington, D.C. during National Police Week 3 times. And during the candlelight vigil, they call the names of all the fallen officers from the year before. And it's a tear. The tears will fall from your eyes during that ceremony. And if they don't, you're not human. You have no soul. You have no heart. But as he's there today talking about how wonderful law enforcement is, we have 3 more police officers shot just yesterday in Texas, 3 Houston deputy constables. We're working a detail at a location, I don't know where it was, but there was some disturbance going on at a bar or a restaurant, and they responded to see what was going on. And while they were attempting to detain someone, they were ambushed and shot from behind by a suspect with a rifle. 1 of them was killed, 2 of them were wounded. And now today they're celebrating fallen officers, which again is a great thing to do. But this president has done nothing, in my opinion, to boost morale among law enforcement. He's done nothing to convince his liberal partners in his party, mayors, governors around this country, to improve law enforcement in their cities and states, fund law enforcement in their cities and states. Done nothing. But instead what they do is they still push this defund the police garbage. So he can say he cares all he wants. And again, I believe that he may care a little bit. But he's the president of the United States, supposedly, so he's supposed to say these things. But he really doesn't have his finger on the pulse of what's going on in public safety today in the United States. They want to ridicule Border Patrol agents at the borders for trying to stop these refugees from coming in the country. They continue to let it happen, this administration. They want to support the mayors and governors, mayors like Lightfoot in Chicago, who wants to defund her police department. Now she's having a vaccine mandate, and she said she will fire officers or put them on leave without pay or do whatever she has to do unless they get the shot. So he can go on that stage at this memorial and talk all he wants and talk all the good he wants, and he wants to do all this and that, but he's doing nothing. This federal government is spending trillions of dollars on what? on what is coming out of our pockets eventually, yes? The police officers and firefighters and correctional officers around this country are suffering because their work is getting harder and more dangerous every day. They get no support from their local politicians, and a lot of officers get no support from their superior officers above them. I know that firsthand. They get no support. Okay? And it's wrong, and it's stressful to the men and women who put a badge on every day, whether you're a correctional officer, a deputy sheriff working in a courthouse or transporting prisoners, a deputy sheriff working in a courtroom or a courthouse cell block, a police officer on the street, or a state trooper on the highway. It's a dangerous job, and anything bad can happen in the blink of an eye. But these politicians and the leaders that are appointed by politicians don't get it. A lot of them have enormous egos, and they don't care how many people they have to step on. They're going to step on them to make sure they get what they want, to make themselves look good. Miami police just fired their chief, who was the chief, I think, for 6 months. Apparently the council, or whatever that bullshit is, didn't like his policies. I think maybe because he supported his men and women too much. And that's a disgrace. He was a chief, I believe, in somewhere in Texas, maybe Houston. Don't quote me on that because I'm not positive. But my point is, if Biden really gave a shit about what's happening in this country in public safety, he would make it a point in his administration to call or write or do something with these local mayors and governors to insist and make sure that they have funds, and they continue to fund and increase funds to support police and fire in their communities, to make sure they don't hire people to lead who don't care about the men and women that work under them. But that's not happening. That's never going to happen. And good men and women who do a hard job every day are going to continue to get disciplined and ridiculed for doing a job that a lot of people don't want to do. There's a lot of police jobs open these days, and the applicants are few and far between, because quite frankly, people don't want to put a badge on. Number one, you're an instant target to any fool who doesn't like the police, and there's plenty of them. We saw that yesterday in Texas, and unfortunately, we see it all over the country. Police are getting ambushed, they're getting shot at traffic stops. There's courthouse shootings. Police are in hospitals, sheriffs are in hospitals guarding prisoners. They're fighting, they're being shot. It's a excuse me, it's a dangerous profession. If you put a badge on your chest every day or night to go to work, you don't know what's going to happen during your shift. It could be the most peaceful shift, and just like that, shit could go off, and here comes the danger. And what do we have to do? We have to go towards it. We don't run from it. All the people are running. And who do you see running towards them? Towards the danger. You see the men and women wearing the badge. And there's a lot of police. Oh, the fucking police are bad. The police brutality. That's garbage. And I said this 100 times. We all know there's bad cops out there. But the majority of the men and women who put a badge on every day and leave their families to go to work are good, hard-working people who do a good job and do the right thing every day. And they deserve the support of not only the public, but these politicians who say they care. Okay? The men and women in law enforcement and public service in general, public safety, firefighters, EMTs, again, correctional officers, anybody who works private security for a moment, these people have nothing. They have hardly any training. They're putting a badge on to go stand and watch somebody's building for pennies. They too are a target just because they're wearing a badge. These assholes walking around that hate the police don't know. They see a badge, that's all they see. They don't see that they have no weapons, they have no gun, they have nothing. So you can equip the police all you want. it's a dangerous profession, and the politicians don't care. So, if Uncle Joe really gave a fuck, he would make sure that nitwits like Lightfoot in Chicago were not mandating a vaccine, were not threatening to discipline and or terminate officers for not getting a shot. They would be supporting them in their right to do it or not do it, and they would be supporting them by telling them they're not going to be disciplined or maybe terminated because they choose not to get something that they don't want to get. But this whole law enforcement, politicians love law enforcement facade is bullshit. They just continue to lie and say they support the police and they don't. Just put on your computer, go on any news channel, whatever one you choose to watch. Politicians are bashing the police every day. They're supporting more criminals than they're supporting the officers who are arresting, these criminals. Judges all across this country are letting killers and shooters back on the street, but they belong locked up. But the jails are full. They're young. We can't punish them. Yeah, you can. If you're big enough and man enough, I don't give a fuck how old you are, that you're going to get a gun and you're going to shoot a cop or an innocent bystander, you belong in prison. That's a fact. That needs to happen. And I'll bring up the 18-year-old kid in Texas, the school shooter a couple of weeks ago, who claimed he was getting bullied. I don't know if he was. Maybe he was. We all know bullying sucks. But if he was getting bullied, he should have told somebody, the school resource officer, somebody. But he chose to bring a handgun to school in his backpack. And when he got into a fight with someone, he took out the gun and shot a couple of kids and a teacher. And what did the judge do? The judge gave him a $75,000 bond and let him out on the street. And he's only charged with aggravated battery. I'm sorry? That's attempted murder, number one. Number two, he's carrying a firearm on school grounds, loaded, unlicensed, and he's charged with attempted aggravated battery. I don't know who that judge is, but that's disgusting. Because in my years working in law enforcement, I've never seen a judge let a shooter out on bail. End of story. At least not $75K. Maybe $1 million bond. Maybe $250,000 bond. But the people, the family, and I feel for this kid's family, it's not their fault that this kid chose to bring this gun to school. So you can't blame the parents for supporting him. But they're able to pay the bond, so of course they're going to pay it, and this kid's out on the street. And I'm not saying he's a bad kid. I don't know anything about this kid. And I'm not saying he's going to walk around and start shooting people, but the fact of the matter is he brought a gun to school because he said he was getting bullied, and he chose to take that gun out and shoot people. Attempted murder, yes, he belongs in prison. I'm sorry, disagree with me or not. But to end this rant, my point basically today is after seeing Biden talk, it's all bullshit. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't have some care, if you will, for law enforcement, but he has no idea what's going on around this country. But I do think he knows that his counterparts in his party are doing everything they can do to defund police and make morale in police departments as low as it can possibly be. And I know of police departments in my area that if morale gets any lower, it's going to be underground. And that shit needs to stop. And these so-called leaders of police departments need to open their eyes and see the job that the people under them do every day and appreciate it, and not look for things to try to fuck them every chance they get. They leave their families, just like the leaders do every day, to do a job that, again, a lot of people don't want to do. This country's fucked right now. Public safety is taking a huge hit. It continues to take a huge hit. And law enforcement officers are getting shot and killed every day for no reason other than politicians don't care and they don't want to increase their force. They don't want to increase their funding. They're going to do whatever they can do to destroy it. And that's what's happening. Because we all know, whether you're good or bad, if something happens to you or your family member, who are you going to call? You're not calling fucking Ghostbusters. You're calling 911 looking for the police to come and help you. So in one breath you hate the cops, and in the next breath you're wondering why the fuck they're not there to help you. And they're going to come even though they know that you don't like them. They're still going to come and do a job that they're sworn to do because that's what they do. So dislike them or not, they're still coming to help you. Think about that for a minute. Shit needs to change, and the people at the top need to realize that the men and women under them doing this job don't take it for granted. They're not getting rich off it. They're doing it because that's they choose to do it. Okay? They chose to apply. They chose to take the test. They chose to do all the training. They weren't forced to. And they deserve respect and help from their leaders to make their job better and increase their force and make everybody a little bit safer out there doing this job. End of rant, end of story. Thank you for watching this today. This is my 50th episode. I appreciate those of you who subscribe to my channel. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And if you want to share this video with your friends, please do. Tell people to subscribe to my channel because I'm passionate about a lot of things. Law enforcement's one of them, and bad politics is another one. So stay tuned, and there'll be another rant coming very soon. I hope you are healthy and safe, as well as your family. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back soon with something else to talk about. Stay tuned. Have a great day.